All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. I'm your host, as always, Mike. And today I'm joined by my boy, Patrick from Addicted to Combat, one of my favorite people to break down fights with, and somebody who's super sharp and very close to 1,000 subscribers. So if you're watching this, please go and subscribe to my guy, Patrick, at Addicted to Combat. What's good, Pat? Thanks for coming on. How you feeling about the card?
The army is growing over at Addicted to Combat, man. It's unbelievable. But yeah, this card is awesome, man. After the pay-per-view weekend, an epic title fight where Pereira, ended up getting dethroned. That was pretty epic stuff. I did not cash my overs on that fight. They all came crashing down one by one. The over 2.5, 3.5, and 4.5. But it was worth it. Sometimes it's the price of admission for an awesome title fight knockout. So excited for this one, man. Max Holloway. Maybe he'll go God mode this weekend. And there's a lot of fights that I'm excited to see. Some newcomers I'm excited to see for the first time, too.
Yeah, Max is my favorite fighter of all time. We'll talk about it when we get there, but I'm so hyped to see him fight again. Him, Robert Whittaker, probably my top two.
Dude, all good choices, man. Comprehensive fighters, durable, high pace. What can't you love about that?
Hey, I mean, forget about Pat. His brother Cyril Gahn might come for you, so.
Yeah, what happened to that guy, man? He's been in hiding ever since he got choked out.
He saw how much you lifted at your meet.
Yeah, we gotta get Cyril Gahn lifting some more weights, man. He can't be getting guillotined. You have to have a neck so thick you can't let John Jones guillotine you in a minute or 2 minutes.
Get a Ilir Latifi neck or lack thereof.
Exactly.
But all right, we can hop right into the card. We've got 14 fights to break down. For the first one, we've got Joselyne Edwards versus Lucie Pudilova. Edwards 12-4-0. She's 27 years old, 5'8" with the 70-inch reach. Got her at King's MMA. I can't really tell. It seems like she's in Vegas. I can't place her. Kind of remember her being at Extreme Couture, but I could be off there. Pudilova 14-7-0, 1 year older, same height, giving up about 3 inches in reach, and she's at SBG Ireland. Why don't you start us off, Pat? What you got?
Yeah, I mean, this is like a pretty low-level fight to kick it off. But, I mean, we did see a little bit of violence last time Pudilova came back in her second stint. She was able to dispose of Wu Yanan, which is an opponent that both of these women share in common. So that was good to see. She looks a little bit more improved. You know, back in the day, like when she went like 2-5 in the UFC, Pudilova used to look very hesitant, very gun-shy, low output. But she's gained some confidence over in that Czech Republic or what is it? It was Octagon, right? She was at. So
yeah,
she looks like she got some renewed skill, some new confidence now at 28. We saw some wrestling against Wu Yanan, which doesn't really show me much. So I am taking Pudilova. I like the striking game of Edwards. I've bet on her in the past, and she's come through as a dog. But I'm going to bank on just, the little bit of the improvements of Pudilova here to just crowd the kicker and get in range, maybe mix in a comprehensive game here. But nothing I want to put money behind. I don't hate anybody taking the dog in this fight. And Pudilova, we saw her come back after, a failed stint in the UFC, beat Wu Yanan, get her out of the UFC. So this is like really just where are these women at? I want to learn in this fight, not really bet on it.
Yeah, so all right, first real quick, guys, there's people screaming outside my window. I live in New York. It's pretty crazy here. So if you hear that, I apologize. In terms of this
bookies,
fight,
it's the bookies asking for their money back.
In advance? Or from last week?
No, from all of your regionals you've been killing, brother.
Oh, thanks, dude. I'm going to talk about that later. But all right, so and one more thing I wanted to mention before I go into this. For my breakdowns for prize picks now for DraftKings, I started using these stats from this dude, Nate Latshaw. He's on Twitter. He's always posted. He's got like a Twitter stats bot, but like his website is sick. And there's a lot of useful stuff. You can make your own tail of the tape and like select things to be included. So I've got like everything. So we'll be using that tonight. If I drop some stats, that's where I got it from. Dude's killing it. Make sure to subscribe, follow him. I don't think he does videos, but follow him on Twitter. Check out his site. And in terms of the breakdown, I got kind of hype when I was breaking down Pudilova, but then I pulled up her Octagon fights and like they were good, dominant, but against bad competition. She got out grappled by Toledo Bernardo. I know that grappling is not going to be a problem here. Edwards isn't going to grapple, but I really like the striking of Edwards, honestly. And I think on the feet, like, yeah, Pudilova's got those cool elbows, especially in the clinch or on the ground. But at range, I think it's Edwards all day long. I think Edwards is good in the clinch too. And will she get taken down? I think at least once. Is she going to get held down? I don't think so. people have been asking me about like this SBG thing where they're wrestling now. I mean, SBG is kind of a crap camp, so I'm not going to take much from that.
Dude, didn't the great Conor McGregor hail from that gym?
And who else? GSP came from TriStar, and look at TriStar. Nothing.
How dare you? How dare you besmirch
John
the name
Jones from
graced by
Jackson
Conor
Wink.
McGregor?
Jackson Wink.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your take that she'll get taken down at least once because, I mean, just her heavy kicking game, her output is pretty much all kicks, and that could win her a fight here if Pudilova can't get in range, if the kicks keep her at bay. They're such long weapons, and that's it adds up over time. We saw that against Ji-Yeon Kim and Ramona Pascal. I like the way that Pudilova handles taking damage a little bit more as well. She seems a little bit tougher in that regard, but we might not have to see that if Edwards can keep her at bay with the kicks all day, so I see your point.
Do you do prize picks yet, Pat?
No.
So I actually just posted one. I don't know if it's still there. It was yesterday.
That's where it's like the overs and unders for like significant strikes and takedowns and all that.
It used to be extra cool because you couldn't bet that anywhere. Now you can. Like at least on Bet Online, you can bet those kinds of things. It's dope.
Right.
But on prize picks, they have Pudilova over 0.5. So one takedown is all she needs for you to hit that leg. And I like that a lot. So I use that as a prize picks leg because I do think she gets one takedown. I think that she won't be able to hold down Edwards too much. So my pick here is Edwards. I did play her at plus 125 for a unit. And that's all I'm doing here.
Hey, I don't mind it at all. She's been good. I mean, Edwards is, they're both young enough to make some improvements, right? And, at least look a little bit more polished in their strikings or like their distance management. I don't hate taking the dog in this fight. It's a close one. And like I said, Pudilova beaten Yanan Wu. That's a good start, but at least she handled her appropriately and got her out of there in round 2. That was surprising at least. But what do you think about the overs, unders? This definitely sees the scorecards, don't you think?
Probably, but I'm pretty sure. Did I do it? Yeah. I actually hedged my Edwards bet a little bit with a Pudilova TKO prop. It was plus 1,200 on Bet Online. I put a 10th of a unit there.
Okay.
Because I could see her doing that. Like the damage was very good. Like her elbows from top when she got her down was great.
She was aggressive, man. She looked very aggressive upon her return to the UFC. I like that.
Yeah, she definitely seems more violent than we usually see from the weight class. So if she does win and it's ITD, I think that's how it's a knockout. So I like those props. I do think, can she grapple her way to a decision? I guess, but I just don't think so. I really don't. So Edwards is my pick. Pat's on the other side. Pat, you don't do shoeies, do you?
I do shoeies. I've done a fireball out of a crock, and I'll continue to do those, but not on this fight, man. I'm gonna put it down for something that I really care about. You sound like Johnny K picks. That guy wants to go shoey for shoey on like things he doesn't even care about. Like I can have some passion behind my shoeies, man.
I'm just trying to make up for my record with Wiz. I'm like 0-4 against damn Wiz. Finally, I'm up against at least somebody. Propaholic owes me 2 damn shoeies. You better get on that.
You're trying to boost your record with fighting tomato cans like myself and shoeies.
Get rid of my curse, dude. It's like a fade angle right now. Fade Mike shoey bets. But we can move on to our next fight. This one is meh. We've got Gaston Bolaños versus Aaron Phillips. Bolaños, he's 6'3" 30 years old, 5'7" with a 70.5-inch reach. For his camp, let me see if I've got anything. I do not. We're going to go with Tapology. It's Combat Sports Academy. Phillips, 12-4-0. He's 33, 3 years older, 2 inches taller. And he's given up about 1.5 inches in reach. Head kicks MMA for him. I'll start us off. We haven't seen Phillips since 2020, so it's rough putting money on him. We don't know how he's going to look. It seems off of his Tapology that he has been in the gym. His last fight was Jack Shore. It's Jack Shore. I mean, it makes sense that he got beat. Before then, he was on the regionals for a little bit. Before then, he was in the UFC. He got cut. On the regionals, he won, but he didn't look amazing. Ariston Franca, I believe is the name. He out-grappled him until Phillips got his finish. It's a really weird fight. Bolaños, he hasn't fought anyone really good, and he's had one fight since 2020, and it lasted 5 minutes, so you can't really take much. And when you look at both guys, how are they normally losing? Like, it's grappling for both of them. So it's hard to really pick a side. I actually kind of lean towards the dog because out of the two of them, he's the one who's shown some wrestling. Now you have to go all the way back to his Retich and Rogers fights. This is in like 2019, I think, to see him actually shoot because he doesn't shoot otherwise recently. He's pretty good at reversing. I like his scrambling ability. His jiu-jitsu looks good. Striking looks serviceable, and that's about it. And I can say the same about Bolaños. I think his striking's maybe a bit better. He's got that power, but both have 6 knockout wins. Neither one's fought anyone that great other than Jack Shore for Phillips. So I'm leaning Phillips. I am, just because of that possible grappling upside. If he's smart in any way, he's going to shoot. If not, he's going to be on the feet, and Bolaños will probably knock him down. I don't love the output of Bolaños. I wouldn't be shocked if he just lost a decision either here if Phillips is throwing more. It's a tough fight to predict. Very little info. Both guys not fighting recently, so I think it's probably a pass. If the odds get out of hand, I'll maybe take a shot on Phillips. I don't think Bolaños is very good, but for me right now, it's a pass. How about you, Pat?
Man, I'm a lot more confident in Bolaños than you are, man. And it's a lot to do with just how bad I think Aaron Phillips is. I'm not high on him at all. And you're right. His 3 spots in the UFC have been tough. Back in 2014, he fought, Matt Hobar, and he fought Sam Sicilia. So one's a wrestle boxer, one's a BJJ guy. They both controlled him. Aaron Phillips is a TKD fighter, like he's got those, the hands down style, likes to skirt on the outside, try to be defensive, but his chin is up in the air to be hit. And, even guys in the regional scenes that are not that good have put him in trouble before. And really his only UFC fights, like his 3 UFC fights, he came back on short notice against Jack Shore back in like the COVID Fight Island era. And that was a tough test on short notice. So couldn't expect that to go well. He's 0-3 in the UFC combined. Bolaños has at least been in Bellator for all 9 of his fights where he's gone 6-3. And I like his striking weapons, man. He's going to get inside with the Muay Thai and do very well. I think he gets a knockout in this spot, probably under 1.5, but I just took his money line, but I didn't invest, a whole lot into it. I put 1 unit at -190. I think he gets the job done over Aaron Phillips, who, like I said, has been inactive. And I think Bolaños still has some improvements to be made here, especially in the grappling, like the anti-wrestling. So I think they're really teeing up Bolaños to have a fun fight because they were scheduling Aaron Phillips to fight like Chris Moutinho. They were trying to get him to fight like a lot of who else are they getting? I think Jonathan Martinez at one point as well. So they're trying to set up, guys to get a highlight reel knockout using Aaron Phillips. So I don't think they think very highly of him either. So give me Bolaños. I might try to get like a half of a unit on the knockout prop for him, but so far no books have really got like a good number on that. I think BetOnline had it was chalk. It was like -110 or something.
+115 I'm seeing, yeah.
+115. Okay, it's moved a little bit then. When I saw it was chalk. So I could work with that because I think that's how he gets it done. Another like spinning back elbow or something crazy for the W.
Would you consider maybe like later props for him? Do you think it happens in round 1 or you think it happens later?
That's hard to know because there might be a feeling out process. Both guys have been out of the cage for a while. So I would assume it's going to be under 1.5, but who knows if they need like a round just to, get the distance, feel each other out a little bit. So, and then also you've got Aaron Phillips. This is why I wouldn't invest heavily in that or all the way because we haven't seen him he got TKO'd by Chris Gutierrez of all people. And it was due to leg kicks. After 3 rounds of eating leg kicks from Gutierrez, he just could not actually answer the bell and keep going. So we've never seen him actually knocked out cold, but I think Bolaños will do it.
All right, let's move on. I just saw it. We're going to talk about her in a sec, dude. Bruna Brasil is all the way down to -162 right now.
Ooh.
We're going to talk about it now. All right, so for our next fight, we've got Bruna Brasil versus Denise Gomes. Brasil, 8-2-1, 29 years old. She's 5'6" with a 66-inch reach. For her, I couldn't find a camp. We're going to go with, okay, it can't possibly be this. Insanus MMA 013. I can't imagine that's a camp. Pat, do you know any better?
No, I have no idea where she's at.
Yeah, all right. So we're going to move on. Gomes, 6-2-0, 23. She's 6 years younger. She's going to be 4 inches shorter, giving up 3 inches in reach. And she's at PRVT with Andrade, people like that.
Wait, wasn't Bruna Brasil? Because I remember the contenders here. She was with like the Fight Nerds camp with like Caio Baralho.
I think you're right, actually. Yeah. I think you're right. All right. Fight Nerds, which is an unknown camp other than Baralho.
I don't know if that was like a club or if they actually had a gym. What is that even? It's just like a collection.
I think it's a gym. It seems like a gym.
They play chess and they spar occasionally.
2 really good prospects. So something they're doing is right over there, except the tattoos, bro. Freaking Baralho's tattoo. But all right, why don't you start us off, Pat? What you got here?
And I like the how can you not like the style of Bruna Brasil? It's tall, lanky, but really good accurate kicking game and stuff like that. And we saw against what was her name? Like the sawed-off Savage or something, Marnik Man, who's like a whopping 4'10". She got she got highlight reel head kick knocked out after Bruna Brasil was just stabbing the body with kicks. That was a fun performance, but she's a finisher, right? She's got 8 wins. 5 of them are actually by finish, and the only 2 times that she's been stopped by strikes are to UFC and Bellator talent. We're talking about what's her name? Jessica Del Boni, I think, was one of them, and then the other was I think was it Lucie in her debut, somebody like that. So she's either steamrolling through people at the low level, or the higher level girls are giving her a lesson. But she's probably improving. 29 years old, still has a lot more room to grow as a striker and her defensive wrestling skills. But Denise Gomes, probably even more room to improve. She's only 23 years old. She's a tough bitch, man. Like I got a lot of enjoyment watching her against Loma Lookboonmee it was like a 4-week turnaround from her decisive victory on the Contender Series to then on short notice facing Loma Lookboonmee last September. So that was I see a lot of people shitting on her for that performance. I thought she did very well on 4 weeks notice at 23, a tough fighter in Loma Lookboonmee who, she had all sorts of trouble with an arm triangle. Even in the 3rd round, she took her back, but Gomes just being a little bit too aggressive and giving up positions and ultimately losing. But she gave a very good account of herself. So I actually am taking a unit stab on Denise Gomes. I took her at like that peak plus 170 underdog price, helping drive that line down for the Bruna Brasil bettors here. But I just think that if Bruna Brasil finds herself in a tough spot where she can't put Denise Gomes away and Gomes is still there, the zombie keeps moving forward, I think she can end up getting just either the 2nd or 3rd rounds in her favor, or maybe even a stoppage down the stretch. Her grappling is pretty good.
Pat, so far we're on opposite sides for all 3 of the first fights. So
yeah, I like this. This is fun. Finally, we're not just playing.
No agreement at all so
we're
far.
Not grabbing each other's cocks here. I like it.
I'm on Brazil. I'm pretty freaking pissed off right now because I did not expect the line to come back up. It's pretty much at her opener now at minus 162. Mm-hmm. And I would have played that straight. What I did earlier today when she was minus 190, I parlayed her with something that's going to come up in the main event. Alternate total for Max Holloway and Allen. It was the over 1.5 at like minus 500 or something, 550. Oh, nice. Parlayed that with her, got it at minus 125, stuck a unit on it. I'm pretty pissed, but hey, if the line keeps going, maybe I'll add to it. I see that a lot of people are on Gomes, very popular underdog this week, but to me, she hasn't been overly impressive. The Rayanne Amanda fight, like, all right, you did a good job, but Amanda's like not UFC caliber, and you still got hit a bunch. Like, it wasn't a clean performance. Brazil, you can say something similar with Marnik Man. Like, Man got some takedowns, and she's teensy tiny, like you mentioned. But that's Man's thing. She's a wrestler, and I'm pretty sure they opened at like evens for that line. So she was respected by everybody, including the public and the bookmakers. But Brazil did her thing. She hurt her in the first round with the body shot. I think it was a kick to the body. Super clean. I'm not a huge fan of kick-heavy fighters. I'm really not. I prefer people who throw with their hands, like Gomes, for example. But in this particular fight, Brazil's going to be much bigger. She's going to have a big reach advantage. Those kicks at range are going to be really helpful, I think, especially to push Gomes back a little bit. She does like to pressure. And, Brazil, she doesn't do it often, but when she does shoot takedowns, they're actually kind of clean. So I think she's got that because Gomes is not the best takedown defense. I understand Loma has done a good job there, but at the end of the day, she's a Muay Thai fighter. She got her back, which was not a good look to me. Brazil, she's got pretty good jiu-jitsu herself. I like Brazil here a lot. I think in the clinch, she's going to have an edge. At range, she's going to have an edge. On the ground, she's going to have an edge. I think the ground is definitely arguable. You brought up good points with Gomes and the sub attempts. CT mentioned this, that a lot of people might have been subbed if they weren't Loma. So I would maybe give the ground. I guess that's up for grabs, but I think at range, it's for sure Brazil. And in the clinch, I think it's Brazil. So that just leaves the pocket for Gomes. And even then, I think Brazil is live. So do I think she knocks her out or finishes her? Probably not. I think she wins the decision, but I also thought she'd win a decision against Marnik Man, and then she had a beautiful head kick knockout. So I'm going to take Bruna Brasil. I mean, I already did, but if the line continues to move, my hand will be forced. I'll have to play it again.
The money line looks nice now. Yeah, minus 160 or so right now. And, Yeah, I mean, she skill for skill, like talent wise, she looks like the better fighter. At this point, we'll see if the improvements are faster for Gomes. But I'm really just on the angle of the toughness here. Like if Bruna Brasil tries to empty the tank, and what happens if she's a little bit tired in round? We saw what happened last week with Jacqueline Amori. The much more talented fighter, but. If she tried to empty the gas tank in round 1, had nothing left for rounds 2 and 3, and kind of looking like, how did I not finish this fight? This usually is finished by now in her debut. So one of those angles here, I just thought the plus money looked enticing. So just a unit stab on it. We'll see what happens.
You brought up dark memories for me with that Sam Hughes Amore fight, dude. I had round 3 knockout at plus 5,000 for 0.2 units to win 10.
Right, you did. I forgot about that.
In round 2, she literally had her almost done. Round 3 starts again. She has her almost done, and she goes to the ground. And I was just like, Sam, why, Sam? And then when they get back up, every time it happens, she looks great, like she can finish, and then back to the damn ground. I get it, you're doing well there too, but come on, you can't cash for me, Sam Hughes.
Damn, I forget. Yeah, I forgot. We did talk about that on
that would have been epic. That would have been epic.
That was a wild fight, man. Well, yeah, it's just one of those spots. We had a couple of those people last week, right? Raul Rosas Jr. did it for me. I had a money line bet on him, and he kind of had the same problem, right? Like, kind of just emptied everything in round 1. Wondered why he didn't buzzsaw through his opponent, and just had nothing left.
I'm glad to say I was on the right side of both of those. I did take Christian Rodriguez, but
C-Rod getting it done.
I'll say this: people gave me shit for it, but tell me I wasn't that off. I kind of compared Raul Rosas Jr. to Chase Hooper. And was I wrong? No, I said he came in too early with a grappling heavy background, and that's it. And look what happened.
That's very similar, yeah.
And he was like 19 or 20 when he came in, right, Hooper?
Yeah, I think so.
But all right, we can move on to another fight with another prospect. We've got Lando Vannata versus Daniel Zellhuber. Vannata, 12-6-2, 31 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach for his camp. We're going with Tapology, Jackson's MMA, Acoma. Zellhuber, 12-1-0. He's 23, so he's going to be 8 years younger. He's going to be 4 inches taller at 6'1" and have a 6-inch reach advantage with a 77-inch reach, training out of Extreme Couture. I'll start us off here. At first, I was probably just going to pass. That was my gut feeling. Just thinking about the Zellhuber-Ogden fight. I mean, to this day, I bring up the stat all the time when Ogden fights or Levitt fights. Ogden landed like 60-something leg kicks. I mean, significant strikes, and like 50 of those were leg kicks. So it's not like Zellhuber got outstruck on the feet, and he didn't get out-grappled by a supposed wrestler who shot 9 times and only got 1. So did he look bad and still lose a fight that he should have won? Yes.
Lost me a lot of money.
Same. But how many times do we see prospects drop the ball once and then come back harder, better? And I think that's what we're going to see here. If he shows up anything like he did in the Almeida fight, at this point, I don't know what Vannata can do to win. I don't. If Zellhuber's winning the exchanges at range like he should, if he brings that output, I think he's going to be the better man. His takedown defense is solid. Vannata, does he get takedowns? Yeah. Is he always doing it? No. Did in the Jourdain fight. Went well for him for a second until he got submitted, but I don't think he gets subbed here. He probably does shoot. I think Zellhuber keeps it up on the feet, and I think Zellhuber is going to be able to win this by decision. I'm waiting on his money line. It's minus 120. Seems like money is still coming in on Vannata. If it flips, easily put down the unit. I just think the upside is on Zellhuber. He's the younger guy. He's the one who's going to come in rapidly improving. And how young is he? 23. Like, he's going to be improving every fight. So give me Zellhuber here. That's the pick, and he's going to be a bet once the line settles. How about you, Pat?
Can you believe we're on the opposite side of this one as well? Plus 110, 1 unit. I'm just throwing out darts on the underdogs in this card, man. Vannata, I forgot how impressive this guy was because his record is complete shit, man. It's really strange. It's like 4 wins, 5 losses, 2 draws. I mean, the guy's been really up and down, only 31. He just came off of that failed stint where he went 1-1 at featherweight, but now he's back up at lightweight. I think he's going to look better in this spot. You brought up the wrestling and the submission game. I think is going to be strong here. And man, if you really go back and look, and I kind of slapped myself for betting Zellhuber in the first place against Trey. Trey Ogden just seemed like an easy layup of an opponent to make his entrance. Turned out not to be that way, but if you look at the record of Zellhuber, it's a little bit hollow, besides that Contender Series fight, which was largely, what made my opinion of him, but he buzzsaws through tomato cans in the regionals. Super big guy for the weight class, and that is a huge advantage in this spot because Vannata has not really faced a lot of like tall, lanky guys. They've all largely been his size at the weight class at 155 and even 145. So that does worry me a bit. Can he get in range? But Vannata's a very fast starter, and if you can put a pace on and maybe hurt and touch the chin of Zellhuber early, force him on his back foot early, then maybe we'll see another timid Zellhuber performance, the way that he was gun shy in his last fight against Trey Ogden. So I'm expecting a fast start from Vannata, and hopefully that momentum carries into the later part of a fight. If it doesn't, if he's hesitant, if he looks a little bit off, if he's washed up, then yeah, Zellhuber should dance all over him and maybe dog walk him to another like triple significant strike performance the way he did in the Contender Series. But at plus 110, let me see if Zellhuber's a busted prospect here. Let's see if Lando Vannata can come back and, this is a huge disparity in experience. I'm surprised that they're making this match. Like they must think
failed upwards, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like we're talking 11 fights in the UFC over the past 7 years for Vannata. Good competition, guys who are, he's landing and damaging strikes and guys that are very hard targets to find. I'm taking Vannata here. I think he can get it done.
You brought up a good point that Vannata hasn't really faced anyone this size. And the last time he did fight a good striker, it was Bobby Green, and he got beat. That said,
he should have beat him the first time, and then he blatantly just jumping kneed him when he was on the ground and lost the point. That's one of his draws on his record, and then Bobby Green destroyed him in the next one.
That said, please, nobody sit here and say I'm comparing Zellhuber to Bobby Green. I'm not. But I was just bringing up a striker. And in terms of the Almeida fight, he actually got hit quite a bit on the feet in round 1 and I think round 2 as well. That might be something people are looking at, but you got to look at the size. Almeida is Zellhuber's size. That's not the case with Vannata. And Almeida is a power striker, which is not the case with Vannata. And he's also not an output guy, Vannata. So that's my angle.
Yeah, for Vannata, I'm going to need a well-rounded game. I'm going to need him to go strike for strike, push a heavy pace, and then probably solidify the round with a takedown or two. Just close it out and steal a close decision that way. So we'll see. We'll see if Zellhuber. I hope Zellhuber rises to the occasion. It would be cool to have some fresh blood who's only 23 and another one of these huge 155ers like what's his face? Who am I thinking of? That Jalen Turner, somebody like that at the weight class.
Yep. But all right, we can move on to the next one. Honestly, we might disagree again, Pat. If we do, I'm just gonna parlay all of your picks, just in case I'm completely wrong every time. Maybe hit some nice idea with all your underdogs. But for this next one, we've got Piera Rodriguez versus Gillian Robertson. Rodriguez 9-0 undefeated. She's 30 years old, 5'3" with a 63-inch reach. She's training out of Black House MMA. Robertson 11-7-0. She's 3 years younger. She's going to be 2 inches taller. Same reach and training out of Goat Shed down in Florida. Let me see who started. You, me. All right, start us off, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, this is another spot where we've got a huge disparity in experience, right? Gillian Robertson, although she's 3 years younger at 27 still, that's always shocking to me. She's been in the UFC so many times, 13 times now, going 8-5. And, this is is this her first time ever dropping down to this weight class? Is that, or has she been here before? Maybe she's been here on the way up to the pros, but either way, new weight class for her. And she's taken on Piera Rodriguez, what has she done? She's fought Sam Hughes and Kay Hansen, not very good tests, but still, she was able to score 29-28s over both of them, and also a 29-28 in the Contender Series. And what's funny is when I looked at those fights, the round that she lost was different in each fight. She dropped round 1 against, I think it was Kay Hansen, maybe. She dropped round 3 against Sam Hughes after slowing down, and then she dropped the second round on the Contender Series. So she needs to get a 30-27 under her belt at some point and, really shore up that part of her game. But she's heavy on the striking. When she hits, she lands really hard. When she misses hard. So that's going to, wear out the gas tank. The wrestling usually is the way that she solidifies the rounds. That's going to be trouble against Robertson. You might be able to get her down, but do you really want to be grappling against somebody as slick as her? Probably not. I think Rodriguez, if she keeps it standing, she should be able to, outstrike Robertson all day long in this fight. But Robertson has a way of either pulling guard or, just ending up on top position, and then that's going to be trouble. So, again, I'm taking another underdog here as a pick. I'm not betting this fight because I just think the experience is all in the favor of Robertson here, and I still have to learn more about where Rodriguez stands. Sam Hughes and Kay Hansen, like that's cute and all, but against Robertson, I just think it's a different animal. I just don't like that at the weight class, Robertson's so finish dependent and going 2-5 in decisions, whereas Piera Rodriguez has never, lost one. So better minute winning for Rodriguez at the weight class. I'll take that as a pick. The underdog doesn't hurt the case either, but yeah, if this goes to the mat, Robertson could lock up a submission in this spot. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yep, looks like I'm parlaying the first 5 fights. So, guys,
again, I'm not a strong conviction on this. I'm not betting it, but I can see both sides.
Oh, I mean, I feel like this parlay will have nice enough odds that we don't have to put much. So the fade Mike go with Pat parlay: Pudilova, Bolaños, Gomes, Vannata, Rodriguez. Going to be putting at least a little bit of change on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to be going the opposite on that too, just to cover my bases. So
we're going to
get reverse swept, but I still end up being a millionaire. That'll be great.
But yeah, so I'm on Robertson. I will say I did get her as an underdog. I got her at plus 140, believe it or not.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, well, that's great. See, that would totally change my opinion of that for sure.
Yeah, to me, that seemed like a really, really nice line, and good to know I beat the line movement.
Yeah.
Personally, I've never really held Piera Rodriguez to high esteem. I thought that she lost her Contender Series bout. That was one of the first times that Laura, what's her name? Laura Sanko. Yeah, that's one of the first times she was commenting on the Contender Series, and I hated her for that fight. Since then, I love her as a commentary person. That fight, I wanted to put my head through a wall. She was going off about Piera Rodriguez because they trained together at Black House.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so it was.
I listened to it on mute yesterday, or a couple days ago when I was taping the fight.
I only do mute now. It's like a new thing for me. I only do fights on mute.
Well, a lot of times I can't have both. Like I'll be like a lot of times I'll have two fighters side by side on different monitors, like watching them, side by side, even with a common opponent, just seeing like how their movements and speed are similar. So a lot of times it would just be a cacophony if I have both at once. So I just mute both of them.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I used to even have audio on is because sometimes the commentary team will drop stuff that you don't know.
Right.
Like, they're this and this champion or this and this black belt. So it helps with the info, but it distracts me, so I stopped listening. But yeah, I like Robertson. I think there's a grappling upside for her that's pretty clear. Rodriguez taken down and controlled by Kay Hansen. I had money on Hansen there. That sucked. But yeah, I think Rodriguez will just out-grapple her. That's really what I think. Not Rodriguez. Robertson will out-grapple her. That's really what I think will happen. On the feet, I guess I edge Rodriguez, but I think it's close. I think Robertson is definitely serviceable. She wasn't completely out against JJ Aldrich on the feet. So I think she should be able to do the job and get her down on the ground. I don't know if she's going to submit her. I decided to just go with the money line as an underdog. Now as a favorite, I mean, I still think she wins, right? That doesn't change my opinion, but it's just not as enticing. Seeing minus 125, I think you can still do that if you think she wins, but you just have to consider the striking, which is where I think she is deficient here a little bit.
We're looking at even Bet Online has Robertson submission plus 285. I mean, that doesn't seem horrible considering, out of her 8 wins in the UFC, 6 of them have been by submission. You know what I mean? So will that change at 115? Probably not. Yeah, I think it's very comparable.
Oh, good thing you brought that up. Actually, I went back. She did fight at strawweight, but the last time was in 2017, her 4th fight, and it was against Hannah Cifers.
Oh, yeah, classic. UFC Hall of Famer, potentially, Hannah Cifers.
Yo, I'm not going to lie. When she was in the UFC, I was a Cifers fan. She's a good striker. She's good. The problem was she was teensy. She's an atomweight, and the UFC doesn't have one. To this day, I don't understand why they don't kill the featherweight division, which is non-existent in the women's, and do a women's atomweight. There's so many good atomweights, especially in the Asian market. Like, it would be lit.
Yeah. It would be so much better and like high output, and I think it would be a really skilled division too. But because there's a lot of like Muay Thai fighters, like you mentioned, from the Asian markets that are just physically, they're just genetically not big people, and they would do better at 105 and be really fast, technical. The kicks are nasty. When you watch one championship, very good skill over there compared to the UFC, just striking wise.
Loma would probably go down as well. Possible champion down there.
But what I want more than an atom weight is I want a women's super heavyweight. I want to see some big old girls like.
There's only one of them. What's her name? Gabby Rodriguez.
I want to see a woman that looks like Roy Nelson go in there and just start destroying.
Have you seen this lady, Gabby?
Probably not,
dude. She's close to matching your physique.
Oh God, Jesus!
Like I'm dead serious. Like the woman is. And she has MMA fights against poor women who had no business. Because how do you find a fight for someone that big? Like she's huge. And the other day,
in a division like that, man, I can go talent scout at like Walmart or something.
Last week, also, I saw someone post something about her. They're like, "Look at this man beating up women," and I was like, "Yo, she's a straight up lady, 100% lady." And yeah, that was.
Oh yeah. No, I just looked her up. Yeah, I know who this is. Absolutely.
She's something else, man.
Yeah,
but
she's a BJJ fighter.
She could probably fight in our heavyweight division and still beat some of those dudes.
Yeah, she would destroy me.
Her versus Bandero.
What is anybody talking about?
But no, all right, we can move on. Next fight, we've got, what is his name? Zak Cummings versus Ed Herman. Herman 24-15-0, 42 years old. 6'1" with the 75-inch reach. American top team, Portland for him. Cummings, he's 24-7-0, 38. He's 4 years younger. He's going to be 1 inch shorter, same reach. And for him, I've got Factory X. And for Herman, actually, it's just American top team. So I'll start us off. I mean, I don't think anybody in this fight should be a -200, -180 favorite. I think that's ridiculous. That said, am I running to the window to bet Ed Herman? No. Do I think he wins? I actually kind of do. But I don't want to bet him because he's 42. He doesn't have any good recent wins. I mean, the Mike Rodriguez fight to this day haunts me because I had Rodriguez and Rodriguez knocked him out and finished him. And then he did that stupid foul thing, which wasn't a foul. And then Rodriguez gassed and gets submitted by a damn Kimura.
I'm pretty sure I had Rodriguez. It was like a degenerate parlay of some sort that I think was like en route to cashing. And it had slow Mike Rodriguez on it, of all people. But yeah, I remember screaming at my monitor.
Brutal.
Like, the fuck? Was that Mark Smith? Who the hell was that ref?
I honestly don't remember, but just a brutal loss. And before that, he beat Hadis Ibrahimov, who was one of the most failed hype trains that we've seen in the UFC. Came in 9-0, left 9-4. So, yeah, I mean, look, Zak Cummings, my thing with him, why I don't think he should be a favorite here is he doesn't do enough to stand out. He just doesn't. Like, yeah, he beat Alessio Di Chirico, but doesn't do much. Not much output. He wrestles sometimes. I don't really think he's going to do it here. I think we're just going to have a low output, sloppy fight on the feet. And if that's the case, I actually think that Herman has the better output. Herman's going to have the better power. I'm like, what I really wanted to play at first was the under 2.5. It's plus 155. The stats don't line up with it. The stats suggest that we're probably going to go to a decision here. That's why I'm hesitant. But we're dealing with two old men who are far, far past their prime. And I feel like a finish is live. But then again, who do you trust to get the finish? Am I going to trust Ed Herman? No. Am I going to trust Zak Cummings to finish? No. So I think this is like pass.com for me. But for a pick, I'm actually going to go with Herman. I think he's going to pull this one out. I wish in New York we got split decision props. As of now, we still don't. So I can't bet those. But I think this might be a spot for that. What do you think, Pat?
This is the first fight we agree on, I think, that we're both on Ed Herman here, dude. But it's totally just like money line dependent, right? It's because of, like you said, nobody in this fight should be more than a -115, -110 pick 'em. You know what I mean? This is dead even 50-50. They're not that far apart in age. And Zak Cummings is a guy who has made it known that this is most likely his retirement fight.
Did he?
Yeah. He went on. I actually went and because I wanted to see what these two boomer fat fucks were doing outside of the cage for so long and not having fought. And Zak Cummings was crippled. He was bedridden for a long time because his back, he had to have like an operation on. He had some herniated discs. And he couldn't even like play with his kids, he said. So the fact that he's even up and walking around and like training for a fight is a moral victory for him. And he's from Kansas City, Missouri. So that's why he wanted to be on this card wants his friends and family to be there, and wants to, kind of ride off in the sunset. He owns his own fight promotion, I guess. So he's got a day job, and he just wants to go in here as like close out that chapter of his life since he can train again. That's basically the thing. Ed Herman is 42, so he could potentially be retiring at any point as well. So maybe that's even, but, in the back of Zak Cummings' head, he's already basically accomplished a career, and he just wants to go in here just to close it out in front of his hometown crowd. So because of that, I can't favor him in this fight. Because of that, 3 years away, Ed Herman looks terrible. His durability is still there, I guess. But like you said, I mean, Ed Herman still gained respect from Alonzo Menafield with the striking last time, enough to survive and take it to a 3-round decision. So that was kind of something that was, surprising to a lot of people. And at some point he can probably get this fight to the mat and crank on a submission. So both guys are submission specialists, but yeah, Ed Herman probably has the natural power at the weight class. Zak Cummings is only going up a weight class here because he doesn't want to cut weight and because they actually tried to make this matchup before. I think it's the one guy on the roster that they think he can beat in a retirement fight. So they were targeting Ed Herman for a while for this fight. But yeah, dog or pass here. There's no way I can bet anything in this fight with like any sort of like real handicapping knowledge, right? I mean, the unders I could probably see just because God only knows if one guy just like rips something, sauntering around the ring. You know what I mean? But give me Ed Herman. Give me Ed Herman by like a late submission.
Honestly, Pat, so I have two things to add now. The first being I might bet the money line now for a half unit because of what you said. Retiring fighters that have mentioned that they might retire beforehand. I don't know the record, but they ain't doing well. That I know.
Look up that the All-Star channel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did an interview with them. I saw that, and that's where he mentioned it.
Got to check it out. Normally, I could care less about interviews, but retirement to me that's important.
Yeah.
So maybe I will do it because I already thought Ed Herman will. I think he's gonna win. So
the only reason I watch interviews is just to know about retirement news or like injuries, because usually that's when they open up about like, oh, what really happened? Why'd you pull out of that fight? And they'll break it down like, oh, I ripped my knee in half, and then you're like, okay, I'll note that.
Know.
Yeah.
But the other thing I wanted to add, dude, tell me how they've never made Ed Herman versus Sam Alvey. They're same.
Like the same guy. Yeah, they're like the same guy. Yeah.
That's a missed opportunity. Is Alvey still with the company, or did he get cut finally? I think he got cut, right?
He got cut, yeah.
My only thing with Herman, you said he might like also maybe retire because he's 42. He has on like his Instagram thing the longest active UFC fighter.
Oh, so he wants to keep that, you think?
I have a feeling he might want to keep that for until he's just getting destroyed. Because
he is. We have Clay Guida on the card, who was, I think, late 2006, but Ed Herman was early 2006. So he is the longest, and he's never taken a break from the company. And I think there's only been like maybe 2 or 3 calendar years since 2006. He's not made at least one appearance. Like he's been very consistent over the time.
3-2 in his last 5 too, which is hilarious, but true.
And like all of those fights, you could put an asterisk next to. Like, yeah, you mentioned Khadis Ibragimov, one of the worst fighters, 0-4. Patrick Cummings was, I think, is old or maybe even a little bit older than Ed Herman himself at the time. So there's, I think the slow Mike Rodriguez one, like he should have lost that fight by TKO, but he managed to, just be that grizzled veteran with a couple tricks up his sleeve. So I think he does it again.
That John Vellante loss is killing me.
It was a split too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a split. But all right, we can move on to another fight that's a lot more
fun. We're on
the
same side of that one. I'm glad.
At least one. At least one. So I don't have to have 7 parlay legs. I can only have 6 or 5. But all right, so for the next fight here, we've got Brandon Royval versus Matheus Nicolau. Royval, he's 14-6-0, 30 years old, 5'9" with the 70.5-inch reach. Factory X for him. Nicolau, 19-2-1, 30 years old as well. He's going to be 3 inches shorter and giving up, let's call it 3.5 inches in reach, training out of Nova União. I think it's your turn, Pat. Yeah, start us off, brother.
I'm pretty confident in Matheus Nicolau in this spot. The money line seems about right, and I'm comfortable with it. I did bet it at -190 for 2.5 units. He can be low output at times. He's very technical with his grappling and his striking. He's more of a counter striker, measures his shots. But when you have a guy like Brandon Royval pushing the pace, I think we're going to see a lot more activity from Matheus Nicolau, and we'll see how accurate and technical he really is. So Royval has no regard for his own. Like he's just such a risk taker in every aspect. So I think Nicolau can end this pretty much wherever he wants. I think if he stays striking, he could put him out with a nice counter cross. Maybe even dive on like a club and sub. What's up, Mushroom? Good to see you, man. And yeah, I mean, Royval always has a chance, but I think Royval is very finish dependent, where Nicolau, I think, could win this inside the distance, on the mat, minute winning. You know, that's a big thing for me at flyweight, is if you have a negative decision record, it's very hard for me to back one of those fighters unless they've got a non-durable opponent in front of them or like some serious power. So 19-2, 8-0 in decisions, whereas Royval is 2-4 in decisions, and he's been kill or be killed. So I think he gets killed in this matchup. Give me Nicolau inside the distance, but the money line is where I'm taking.
We agree again, Pat. What did you get the money line at?
Minus 190.
Okay. Yeah, so I got him earlier. I took Nicolau at minus 157 for 1.57 units.
I see CT in the chat saying minus 155 was a slam spot. Good number, dude.
Yeah, and then I got minus 165. I added another 2 units to it because I'm fairly confident. Like, first of all, I think Brandon Royval, I love him. He's awesome. Please don't cut him from the UFC no matter how much he loses. But I've thought he's overrated personally. Yes, he beat Kai Kara France. Awesome. But it was in the chaos. And that's where he does his best, is that chaos. He causes chaos. But Nicolau, in my opinion, is perfect for that because the guy is so tentative. He's a slow starter, not a good output. And normally I would hate that. But against someone like Royval, take your damn time, man. Take your time. Find your openings. And I think the grappling is going to be a huge thing. I mean, Royval is getting out grappled constantly. His takedown defense, off the top of my head, I think it's like 36%. He got out grappled by Brandon Moreno. He got submitted by Pantoja. Both elite, sure. Bontorin, he beat. I think Bontorin won that fight. I know he popped for steroids or something like that, but I felt that Bontorin won that one, and he had his back for like half.
I think it was a banned diuretic for weight cutting. I'm pretty sure.
So not even steroids. And then Royval beat Schnell. They both last beat Schnell. Royval subbed him. Schnell literally knocked him down on the ground.
Yeah.
And then in classic Schnell fashion, followed him. I'm a big Matt Schnell fan. I don't know why. I just love him. I think he's really good, except he's stupid and doesn't have much of a chin. But yeah, in terms of the fight, I just think it's perfect for Nicolau. I really do. Can he lose moments because he's so inactive and Royval will have a good output that he will? Yeah, maybe. But I just think he's going to be so dominant if he decides to grapple. Like I mentioned when we started the show, I'm using Nate Latshaw's stats from his website. Like, you guys should really check it out. In terms of defensive wrestling grappling, right? The percent of time spent being controlled for Brandon Royval in his fights is 46%. For Nicolau, it's 5%. Control time, time controlled per 15 minutes, almost 7 minutes for Royval, less than a minute for Nicolau. And then in terms of control rate and clinch and ground time, you got 80% for Nicolau, 22% for Royval. So you got one guy who's constantly being out grappled, constantly being out controlled, and you have another guy who's constantly being the one who controls the fight, controls where it is, 93% takedown defense. He's going to have to make a stupid mistake for Royval to win. Can it happen? Hell yes, especially with the chaos. But I think more times than not, Nicolau wins this fight pretty dominant.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, man. And yeah, like you mentioned with some of those recent performances with Royval, even when he wins, he's still in trouble in the beginning of those spots. And he's lucky that the judges sided with him. And he got, I think, that third round reversal that maybe was key against Rogerio Bontorin. Otherwise, he was on route to losing that fight. I like CT saying the under is tempting. That really, that's a point I wanted to bring up. I love that.
Yeah.
Spot.
I wanted to ask you also, it almost seems off, no? At minus 120 for under 2.5 for a Royval fight, it almost seems off.
That's one of those spots where, like, even though Royval is the main contributor to the under, he's so risky. He's so risky with his both grappling, just going submission, over position, diving in range, just jabbing his way in range, head straight up in the air. I mean, that's a guy where, like, he contributes to it, but he makes his opponent really contribute to it as well. So I like the under. If I wasn't invested on a side here, like I'm really heavy on Matheus Nicolau 2.5 units, I would double up and I would put the under as well. But I have enough on Nicolau. But if I was just not playing a side, the under is a very good bet.
Honestly, I actually might add the under. I'm looking at it now. Royval, 6 fights in the UFC, only 2 of them have gone over. None of them have gone to decision other than the Bontarine fight. And other than that, the last time he went over was against Tim Elliott, and that was by like 50 seconds. So I'm really tempted. And Nicolau, I think the line is the way it is because Nicolau was like the opposite, right? Most of his fights are decisions.
Yeah, I agree.
But when he's fighting guys who aren't all that, he is finishing. Or when he's fighting guys who are defensively not sound, like Matt Schnell, he's finishing. So I'm very tempted by it. And I know that's not even the best of it. I think it opened at dog odds, but still, to me, it really feels off. I'm hesitant, but I think I'm going to eventually get there. Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm probably going to stay off it just because I have that money line bet, but I don't want to lose both. I don't want to somehow, by God, go to decision and Royval gets his hand raised by like a split or something. You know what I mean? Then I lose both. So very unlikely, but that's it would scare me off of it.
You just flick the light switch in my head. I want to see something on DraftKings.
DraftKings is dropping a lot of their props now, so
I'm curious what Nicolau decision only is. If that's under 200, that's a play, no?
Yeah, I mean, so if it finishes either guy inside the distance, it's a
you get your money back. Yeah, you only lose it for Royval wins the decision.
Yeah, that would make sense if it was something okay.
I want to know what it is. I'm looking right now. It might not be up yet.
I don't have it up yet.
Are you on DraftKings?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, no point in looking then. So
they've got like very specific props for the main event, for the Barbosa and Billy Q co-main, but nothing else yet.
They'll add it as the week goes on. Yeah. I think that's a spot I'll look for because even with like I've got a pretty big investment already, but I feel like that's also a pretty safe pick if it's under like 200, which I think it might not be. So just a guess. We can move on to the next fight, though. Here we've got literally one of the least trustworthy people in the UFC, TJ Brown versus Bill Algeo. Brown, 17-9-0. He's 32 years old, 5'9" with a 74-inch reach. For him, he used to be at Glory. Now he's at Tulum Muay Thai / Westside MMA. Looks like he's doing a little bit of cross training. Algeo on the other side, he is 16-7-0. He's going to be 1 year older, 3 inches taller. And same reach pretty much. He's training under his own gym now, Algeo MMA. I'll start us off. I like Algeo. I took him at -150, but I only put a unit on it. And people ask me why. And now the line's even wider, so it seems like I was kind of stupid for it. But honestly, my problem is I think TJ Brown is good. I used to back him all the time. I just think he's a freaking idiot. Like, he finds a way to either lose or almost lose every single fight that he should not be. Like, you beat Kai Kamaka. You should have beaten Chavez. You got that draw. That was BS. Like, the guy is good, but then he's so stupid. Just mistake after mistake against Shailan, a fight he could have won. Almost gave up that Eric Silva fight, which he should have won, did win, but just barely. He's just so untrustworthy. My issue, though, with Algeo, why I didn't go heavier on him is the takedown defense. I don't like his takedown defense. It's like 50-something%. He's decent at getting back up, and he gets his own takedowns too. But TJ Brown's a very good wrestler. He is. He even out-grappled Jordan Griffin, and that's the one thing Griffin did well in the UFC. And this is back, I think it was like his second or third fight in the UFC for Brown. I think he's good. He's just a moron. So with Algeo, I love his pressure. I love his output. Dude's got that dog in him. You know that meme with like the X-ray and the dogs in it? That's literally Bill Algeo. He's great. And, when you back somebody, you want somebody who's going to fight for your money. And I mean, there's very few guys who you can pick that are going to fight for your money more than Bill Algeo. The guy will fight and fight and fight until either he loses a decision or gets knocked out, but he's going to fight for your money. I'm on Algeo, like I mentioned, just one unit, though. I would say be cautious because if Brown is smart, if these new camps, I know maybe the Glory MMA thing threw him off, but if the guy just thinks for a second, he might end up looking like a heavy favorite here. I don't think so. So I got money on Algeo. Even if Brown looks good in round one, I kind of think Algeo might start to break him. I don't love the whole hands down thing with Algeo, but there's pros and cons to it. The con clearly being that you're not going to be able to pick up your hands fast enough to block half the strikes coming at you. The pro, you can strike really awkward, and it's really hard to tell where your strikes are coming from, which Algeo loves to do. So my pick is Algeo, only a unit though, and that was at -150. At this point, at this price, I would say stay away personally. What do you think, Pat?
Man, you broke it down just like I would have broken it down. Hit all the points, and especially the money line where it's at now. I don't see a lot of extra value on Bill Algeo. What's he at now? Like a -210, something like that? -210 on DraftKings. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I mean, your line is great, and I would have played it at your line, but this line, I think it's right where it should be. TJ Brown, I actually backed him in his last fight as a slight dog against that newcomer, but that was more because he was facing more of a finish-dependent newcomer, and I figured he could probably wear him out. But I think the opposite is true in this fight. Algeo should be able to win this down the stretch. The takedown defense is really why I think this line is a little bit too wide, or at least right where it's at. And I don't see a lot of extra value because he's been taken down in every single fight. Now, granted, it is getting better. He's getting taken down like less and less as his career has gone on since whenever he debuted in 2019, 2020. But even Herbert Burns taking him down for a period of time. Nobody's really holding him down except for Andre Fili, and that took until round 3. I don't think TJ Brown will have the gas tank to go that long and keep putting a pace on him. So I think Algeo is able to snipe from the outside. He's going to be the bigger man with the longer striking weapons here. But yeah, I mean, TJ Brown does have a path. He could get that decision win based on control time and wrestling. But what happens with TJ Brown? He gets a takedown. He ends up getting reversed somehow, getting swept out of nowhere. You think he's got a dominant position, then he's on his back, like fighting for his life. So I'm not backing TJ Brown here. I think Bill Algeo should be the much more dangerous guy and probably more likely to get a finish in this spot.
Algeo by sub got my attention, but the price right now on Bet Online isn't good enough for me. It's plus 400. I want better.
Yeah, hopefully FanDuel, DraftKings will have something juicy. Maybe find like a same game parlay. Put like a same game parlay of like Bill Algeo, like TJ Brown scoring at least one takedown, and then also Algeo by sub or something like that. You know what I mean?
Same game parlays right now in MMA are like,
dude, I love it, man. I love the ability to combine like rounds and methods. You know what I mean? It's great. Like being able to just bet the over 199 seconds or whatever it may be, or the over 299 seconds, and then get like the round 2 and round 3 finish props for a fighter. Awesome to have that.
Are you able to same game parlay like the over on takedowns also? I know some states have it. We don't have it here, which is so whack.
Dude, we can do everything. A couple weeks ago at what was that fight? Yeah, at San Antonio, Tim Troiano had like this epic. It was like $15 to win like over $1,000 on Holly Holm, and all we needed was Holly Holm to get a TKO stoppage. Like she was so close, but it was like her to score 1 takedown in round 1, over 2 takedowns overall, most significant strikes. Like it was like all kinds of like knockdowns between the two fighters, like even. Like it was this crazy chain of like a million different same game parlays, and all we needed was that stoppage. But somehow, her opponent found a way.
Yeah, man. I really hope we start getting the rest of it so I can do that stuff. I feel like people have been getting such good spots. I know Lou's doing a whole show dedicated to it now, which I think is pretty smart. If you guys are into that thing, make sure to check Lou out.
Check that out, man. It's an awesome show, and he's got Gordo Gambles doing it with him now.
What was it, Victor? You can't just say you had it and then.
Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah, Victor. I forgot what it was, but Victor cashed out big that night. I think it was the same night.
Victor. We'll shout you out, but we can move on to the next fight. For now, we've got this is fun. We got Clay Guida versus Rafa Garcia. Guida 38, 22-0, 41. He's 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. He's currently at American top. I'm sorry, alpha male for him. Garcia 15-3-0. He's 28, so that's 13 years younger. Same height, giving up 2 inches in reach. He's on Elevation Fight Team. I know he spent some time at Pound for Pound Muay Thai. A lot of them are cross-training between the two over there. Pat, start us off, brother.
You said it best when you said, this is fun, because this is fun. Clay Guida is a fan favorite, super consistent fighter. Like even at 41 years old, he's still kind of the exact same fighter as he was back in the day in like 2005. So coming off that split decision win over Scott Holtzman, you could see the takedowns are more labored. He's not doing much with the position, whereas the opposite is true for Rafa Garcia. Rafa Garcia, very improved wrestling, good top control, and he's actually like raining down punches and elbows, working very hard to advance position and win a lot of the damaging moments on the ground and hold that. So That's why I'm going with Rafa Garcia here. I will say, though, I'm like minus 250, whatever the hell he's at now. I don't see a lot of extra meat on the bone betting him. I'm confident he wins just because of the youth advantage here, but we have seen a couple of spots. I think he's proved us that he is not a total gas bag, but we've seen him do what people have done to Clay Guida before, where they try to put their opponent away and then they end up, emptying their gas tank and leaving nothing for down the stretch. I remember Leonardo Santos in a couple of fights ago almost got Clay Guida out of there and then emptied out his gas tank, and Clay Guida survived and took over. That's a potential scenario that could play out here, but I got to go with the younger man. I think Rafa Garcia should be able. Say that this goes like the what's his face? What's that wrestler's name? The Olympian Marco Madsen. Say it's like Marco Madsen and Clay Guida, where nobody wants to wrestle. It's just a stand-up affair. I think Rafa Garcia wins that type of matchup as well. So striking, wrestling activity, minute winning, youth. Give me Rafa Garcia to win this fight. I have nothing on this. I don't have a good eye for the overs and unders in this fight. Maybe you can help me out with that.
I don't know about the overs and unders just because I think we're probably going to go over, and it's like juiced. Garcia by sub, I see the love. It's plus 400 on Bet Online. How many times has Guida been subbed? 11 times. 8 sub wins for Garcia. But if you look at Garcia, you look at those sub wins, I don't think any of them have happened against anyone good. Jesse Bronson or whatever his name is, the only one.
Yeah, and that was a club in sub. Like he set that up with the strikes, right?
And I have the opposite read that you have from the same fight, from the Marco Madsen fight. I think if we get a similar fight, I actually think that it's Clay Guida who wins. Really? I feel like both guys, like if I had to describe their striking, I would just say meat and potatoes or serviceable. That's it for both of them. I thought maybe I would think higher of Garcia's striking, but I personally don't, honestly. He's at a great camp. Maybe he's improving. He's very young, but Guida's at a good camp too. I know he's old. He's 41. Probably not going to improve too much, but Guida's been able to sustain that cardio. He's been able to sustain that ability to pressure. He's still got that output. Again, that meme, got that dog in him, the dog x-ray. And Garcia, like you mentioned, I don't want to call him a gasser. It was like just one fight, and it's because he went for the finish. But when he's dealing with other grapplers, he's not having a ton of success. Like even against Natan Levy, like he got taken down, I think 2 times there. I don't remember how long he got controlled, but he can be taken down too. And Clay Guida, he's going to try. I mean, the Mark Madsen fight, right? I don't even think Clay shot. I think he didn't at all. But Marco Madsen is like an Olympian. Rafa Garcia, I don't think Clay Guida is going to hold him in the same regard, and I do think he's going to try to grapple. But if we're stuck on the feet, like you said, that Madsen fight, I think it's at least 50-50 at best. Or, okay, maybe 60-40 Garcia, right? But that doesn't reflect the minus 260 line. So
no, not at all.
And do I think Garcia is going to completely out-grapple Clay? I personally don't. So am I excited to bet Clay at 41 years old? No. Is plus 220 tempting me? Yeah, it really is. But money's coming in on Rafa, so I'm just going to sit and wait. If I get a price that is like, Mike, take a shot, I'll take a shot. If not, I'm going to just sit it out and hope he wins as a fan.
It's more narrative-based for me and just age-based as well. Like, I don't think Rafa Garcia is some, like, world-class kickboxer, but Clay Guida has just been so predictable, left and right hooks, feint, moves out the side, working with the jab, leg kick, feint, left, right hook. Like it's just very, and it seems like a lot more labored now, and he doesn't seem as durable when he's taking damage. So I just think Garcia can, and we're looking at like not only trading wins and losses for Clay Guida, but we're trading like old and young opponents as well. And this is fine. Now we're back on a spot where he should get a loss just by the pattern, and he's also fighting a younger opponent. So based on all of that, I do think if this stays standing, I think Rafa Garcia, come on, like that would be embarrassing if he didn't at least outstrike Clay Guida at 41. But I mean, I can see your point. I see a path for Clay Guida, who's been so consistent.
This is another spot, I think, that where if you can get split decisions, I don't know what the odds are, but I think this might be a good spot. Because with the new judging, where half the judges don't know if they like ground control or damage more, this might be a perfect spot where the judges are just going to be sitting there like.
And we're in Kansas City. We haven't been in Kansas City in what, like 9 years, 10 years? Who knows what the hell? Yeah, it's been a while. I want to say it was like 2017, the last time they were in Kansas City. So, God only knows what their commission is like,
I just hope you don't get any new judges like in the Vera fight. The guy who like has only ever scored 4 fights, and then
awesome.
he gives the fight to Marlon Vera.
That was great. I was laughing so hard, dude. That was awesome.
When I heard, I couldn't believe it. I had Sanhagen. I was like, "There's no way they're about to rob me. There's no way."
No, it's they just gave it to. I think the judge fell asleep, and he's like, "That guy has tattoos, and that guy, that pasty white guy, looks like a dweeb." So they're just like, "There's no way I'm gonna give it to the guy with the tattoos."
I love Sanhagen weigh-ins because he literally looks like an IT guy when he pulls up in his little polo and his jeans.
Yeah, he looks like he's coming to calibrate the scale when he goes to weigh in. It's like, is this thing working okay? Like,
but yeah, we can move on to our next fight. Here we've got a good one again. We've got Pedro Munhoz versus Chris Gutierrez. Munhoz, 19-7-0, 36 years old, 5'6" with a 65-inch reach for him. Let me see. I've got American Top Team. Gutierrez, 19-3-2. He's 31, 5 years younger. 5'9". He's 3 inches taller. 2-inch reach advantage. Training out of Factory X for him. I'll start us off. At first glance, it seems like a changing of the guard kind of fight, and it might be. 2 guys who are super similar. One of them is way younger. One of them has a size advantage. So I get the Gutierrez love. I get him being a favorite. All that said, I'm very, very, very tempted on Munhoz here. I don't love the size difference. And of course, like the momentum is for Gutierrez. He's 4-1, 4-0-1 in his last 5, where Munhoz has 1 win in his last 5. In the Sean O'Malley fight, just like off memory, I felt like he was winning that fight. Then I ran it back and I was like, all right. I mean, I don't think anybody was winning that fight. It was just pretty much all leg kicks out of Munhoz, and O'Malley landed some good strikes. Can't really take much from there. But you look at the guys he's losing to: Dominic Cruz, Jose Aldo, beats Jimmy Rivera, loses to Frankie Edgar in a split that I think he won. Gutierrez, he hasn't fought anyone like that. He fought Frankie Edgar too. You want to do MMA math? Sure. Gutierrez knocked him out. Munhoz lost to him, but Edgar's like 42 at this point. He's been kicked to the face by Chito Vera to the point where his face became a meme. I mean, that didn't mean too much to me. The Donna Baccarel fight, you know, he was actually getting outstruck too. It's not like he was just dominating. He got that spinning back fist knockout, cashed me an underdog ticket. That was great, but wasn't super dominant. That split decision win over Felipe Colares, that's a grappler, different kind of fight. But again, just didn't show me enough where I'm like, all right, this guy can run away with fights. And especially when you're telling me Gutierrez's thing is leg kicks, I don't think he's going to shine there because Munhoz will throw as many leg kicks as he will. They both throw a ton of them. I like the dog shot on Munhoz. I think what I'm going to end up doing is just playing his decision prop. His decision prop is sitting at plus 350. He's plus 180 money line. I feel like it's a nice way to play it cheap. That way I can respect Gutierrez being the younger guy, the bigger guy, the one with the momentum. But I think Munhoz wins. I think he wins by decision, and that gives me a good way to play it. So that's what I'm thinking. How about you, Pat?
Man, I love Chris Gutierrez in this spot, bro. I love him in this spot. I just think he's so much. I mean, we're looking at Pedro Munhoz as one of the most experienced bantamweights. Like, that's a daunting thing. But at 36 years old is already old for the weight class. I think he's got a lot more fight miles on him than that. Not had the most success, not a good momentum. And we got Chris Gutierrez who's looking better, and he's just got so many more striking weapons in his arsenal. Very good at moving forward and striking accurately, very good at moving backwards and counter striking accurately. You know, can switch stances on occasion. I mean, just the taller man, the longer man, more output per minute so far. Probably the more powerful guy here when he lands. And yeah, just all of those metrics go in his favor. It's a clear Gutierrez spot for me here. Probably a decision just because of how durable Pedro Munhoz is. I don't think that changes, but give me Gutierrez. I do have him connected to a parlay from last week. I parlayed him with Gilbert Burns. So easy win, easy day in the office for Gilbert Burns in Miami. And now we've got a minus 123, 2 units on Chris Gutierrez for this week. So we're sitting pretty on that one, and just hoping that Gutierrez can look even more evolved and just do what he's been doing, man. Like you said, the leg kicks, maybe those are even, but again, Gutierrez is just so dynamic with his strike, so fast, so good at cutting angles. I think he's got a dance on Munhoz in this spot.
All right. Once again on opposite sides, Pat. I think this is like a record for us for sure.
This is. We're usually pretty spot on, like on the same side of things. But this is it's an odd card, man. I'm liking a lot of dogs, and there's a couple spots here where you're liking the dog, and I'm on the favorite. So we'll see how it plays out, dude. I hope we keep all 14 of these fights, including our favorite fight that we're lining up on, which is the Ed Herman's Cummings one. That's my favorite fight of this entire card.
I feel like that one's gonna be like just weird. Just watch how it's like the most fun fight of the card.
It should be. It already is. I'm already having fun thinking about it right now.
Bro, I feel like that's just a fight that can happen in an Applebee's parking lot. Like this would
That's why I like it, dude. That's why I like it. It reminds me of home.
But all right, we can move on. Anybody who follows me knows I'm going to be a little opinionated on this. Damn, I just dropped my grinder. Here we've got Ion Cutelaba versus Tanner Boser. Cutelaba 16-9-1, 29 years old. He's 6'1" with a 75-inch reach. Extreme Couture for him. Boser 29-1. He's 2 years older at 31, 1 inch taller, same reach. He's coming down a weight class. And for him, I don't have a camp. Hayabusa Training Center. We're going to go with that. Start us off, Pat. What you got?
Tanner Boser, man. I can't believe he was he lost me. That fucker lost me a lot of money back in September, man, when he took Rodrigo Nascimento to his first decision ever, and then actually lost the decision to Rodrigo as well. Because I think Tanner Boser weighed like 229 that night in a heavyweight fight where Nascimento was nearing the limit at like 261. So that didn't go well, but now it's down at light heavyweight, and he's a guy who gets out grappled. Karate-based fighter in Tanner Boser. Not the most athletic guy, clearly. He was that, that meme of those kids that say, like, I train UFC, and it's Tanner Boser. You're familiar with this? That's so fucking funny, dude. I had no idea for years that was Tanner Boser. But anyways, Ion Cutelaba is an idiot, and he has very bad in-ring fight choices. He is a savage, and he's one of my favorite guys at the weight class. But I just can't back him anymore, dude. Like, he had in Zetriku in all sorts of trouble with the striking early on and then decided to continue to grapple with him, got knocked out himself. So the point being here, I think Cutelaba has a clear path. I think he could, if he plays this like the Jacoby fight and just as a very boring grappling-based performance, I think he could do very well in this fight, but he's probably going to end up testing the striking at some point. Maybe he wins the striking exchanges. He could win that too, but I just feel like I can't back Cutelaba. Hopefully you're more confident on one of these sides, but give me Cutelaba by decision, I think. If he could just win, secure his place in the roster with a clear grappling-based decision, that's plus 450. And I'm considering like putting like a quarter unit on that just for the hell of it. But I don't know how to play this fight, man. What do you got for me?
Decision honestly makes sense for me with Cutelaba. So I'm glad we're on the same side. So it's not pure bias here. Everybody's giving me shit because, dude.
What's the deal in this fight? I'm unaware.
I don't like Tanner Boser. And the only reason I don't like him is because of one thing. When Igor Puteria, Ukrainian fighter, fought against Shogun Rua and knocked him out, he did a dance, he did a gun thing, shot up in the air, something like that.
I remember that.
And people lost their minds. For some reason, that was something that triggered people. Tanner Boser got so triggered that he decided to go on Twitter and write, because of Igor Puteria's post-fight speech, people are going to cheer for Russia. Oh. And I'm just like, bro,
God damn.
You didn't write that on Twitter for everybody to see. And he did. He did write it on Twitter for everybody.
Well, he looks like based on looking at him, he looks like that's the level of intellect he's operating at.
I was sad because I liked him. I liked him as a fighter and as a guy until that. And I was like, all right, you're just a scumbag. And then this fight got announced. I saw the line. And originally I was like, Cutelaba's a moron. I hate Boser, but Boser probably wins. And then I taped it, and I liked Cutelaba. Got him as an underdog at plus 105, stuck a unit on it. And I think it's going to all come down to the grappling. Look, if he decides to strike, he's very, very live to get knocked out. He's a serviceable striker, not the best chin, a bit of a gasser. He should grapple, and that's his path here. Boser just hasn't been able to fix that grappling deficiency. He hasn't been able to. He gets stuck on his back, and he's just very one-dimensional to me. It's just boxing. That's it. He's not throwing a lot of kicks. He's just a boxer. I think Cutelaba should be able to take him down. I hope he does him like he did Devin Clark, take out a few teeth, bring him home. That would be great. But the pick is Cutelaba, 1 unit. And my proof that I'm not biased is that Pat is also on him.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think very highly of Tanner Boser. Like, even in the Canadian regionals, this guy's not a finisher. Like, he's got finishes on his record. Of course, you're going to have on the regionals some low-level guys. If you make it to the UFC, you can get out of there. But largely, he was a decision fighter, like a point fighter. And then he faces some guys who are just like a shadow of their former selves, gets some knockouts. Now he's like this knockout threat. I think he would have to destroy like a fatigued version of Ian Cutelaba, which is totally possible. That universe certainly exists where Cutelaba spends all the energy in the world trying to get this guy to the mat, retake him back down, chain wrestle, and then he gets, the accumulation of damage with the fatigue of Cutelaba, he could get finished. But I don't know. It's just so hard to back Cutelaba, man. The guy's just a moron. So it would have to be like some high value prop. Like I said, that Cutelaba by decision, which is, that would take many, many decades off your life to bet unless it was only like a quarter unit stab. So that might be where I play it.
Hey, if he pulls up with a grapple heavy game plan, you might look like you're just chilling with that prop.
I want a fight where like, what's that guy? Was it, who am I thinking of here? I'm thinking of like Roman Dolidze against like Staropoli, like that type of performance where it's just like 15 straight minutes of just a rear waist lock, dragging him to the mat, and just hugging him for 15 minutes. That's what I would like.
It's one of the reasons that's one of the fights that made me think that Dolidze is ass. And now look at him, dude. That was
the highest. That was the highest fight IQ move you could ever make in a fight. Like, you're gonna win. Yeah,
I don't know about you. I felt like he beat Vettori, and I had so much money on Vettori, so I'm glad I got the decision. But Dolidze showed up. Got to give him credit. Yeah. But for this next fight, we've got Dustin Jacoby versus Azamat Murzakanov. Jacoby, he is 18-6-1, 35 years old, 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. Factory X Muay Thai for him. Murzakanov 12-0. He's 1 year younger. He's going to be quite a bit shorter. What is this? 5 inches shorter. He's going to give up 7 inches in reach. And for his camp, I don't have anything. We're going to go with K Dojo Warrior Tribe. Why don't you start us off, Pat?
Two guys that are fun, man. Like, Murzakanov is this crazy, powerful, one-shot knockout threat that came to the UFC, and now he's, he got that flying knee comeback victory in round 3 against Tafana Nchukwi. Made me a lot of money in that one, coming from behind and cashing some parlays. But then he managed to, beat Devin Clark a little bit more quickly than that. He got the job done. Almost another round 3 finish, but he got him in all kinds of danger in round 2. Jacoby is way more consistent with a chin to back up, like a durability sort of factor in his favor in this fight too. So I wouldn't expect Murzakanov to be finishing this fight at a high clip, just because the only guy that's done this to Jacoby is, I think, King Mo the Wall in Bellator years ago. So you think of the people that Jacoby has fought since then. Super high-level striker. I love the fact that he can switch stances like mid-combination. Like, you think you're fighting an orthodox fighter, then all of a sudden, Jacoby's in your face, southpaw weapons. And, he just fought Khalil Roundtree. Did pretty well against Roundtree, who's a southpaw fighter. Controversial decision, but he also fought and beat Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, southpaw. So those are two southpaw fighters he had success over, and Murzakanov will fall in that category too. Point fighting ability, finish ability, a lot more ways to win the fight. I'm surprised that Jacoby is the money line he's at. So at minus 170, I got minus 171 to be exact. I put 2.5 units on him to win in this fight. I think he could get it done inside the distance, like the accumulation of damage as the fight goes on, if not a decision. Murzakanov, I guess I can see why he's got respect on the line, because he is still 12-0 and undefeated with a lot of finishes. But you dive deeper into that, man, and I just don't see Jacoby falling victim to any of those. It's like usually like a big, left straight that sets up the strikes. And then Murzakanov is very accurate, like on the follow-up shots. If he smells blood, he swarms very accurately. But when have we seen Jacoby really like falter that way? Not very often. So give me Jacoby very confidently here.
Yep, me too. I haven't played him yet just because the odds have been moving towards Murzakanov. It looks like right now Jacoby's minus 159 and climbing.
That's crazy. Like, why? I don't understand.
I'm going to sit here and wait. I don't know what people are seeing with Murzakanov. He literally was losing that Tafan fight. I had Tafan. That was a sickening loss.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know how you can watch the tape on these two and think Murzakanov wins. He doesn't grapple often. And if he does do that, Jacoby has great takedown defense. He's going to tire the guy out. And Jacoby is just way, way, way bigger. They're both they're both strikers, but Jacoby's just much larger. So give me Dustin Jacoby. I like him a lot here as well, but I'm gonna wait in the line because it looks like I might get gifted something. So I'm just gonna sit and wait for now. Hopefully I don't end up missing out because I'm greedy, but at even minus 159, I like Jacoby a lot.
Yeah, that's an insane number on Jacoby. As much experience as he has in multiple sports and combat, that's crazy.
He's unbeaten other than the Halil fight since he's come back to the UFC. I think like 7 fights, something like that.
Yeah. It's he could have been on a 10-fight unbeaten streak if it wasn't for the Roundtree decision.
Yep.
Which upon rewatching that, like I still think Jacoby did enough to win that fight, but I can see why they they scored round 3, of course, to Roundtree, given all the damage. But I just don't see Mirzakhanov winning enough of those moments, to score a decision in his favor.
I'm with you. But all right, we can move on to our next fight, the co-main event of the evening. Violence personified. We've got Edson Barbosa versus Billy Quarantillo. Barbosa 22-11-0. He's 37 years old. 5'11" with a 75-inch reach. I've got American top team for him. Quarantillo, he's 17-4-0. He's going to be 3 years younger, 1 inch shorter, have a 5-inch reach disadvantage, actually. And he's training out of Gracie, Tampa South. Starting off, I think the most likely outcome is probably Quarantillo. I think he's going to drown him. I think it might kind of look like the Bryce Mitchell fight just because of what Quarantillo can offer. All that said, I think I'm going to bet Barbosa, decision, no action, or Barbosa KO in some form because I think this is such a good matchup for him to get a knockout. Quarantillo, I love the guy. I love his output. I love his pace. I love that dog in him, but he's so fucking hittable. He's so hittable. And like that couldn't be clearer. 40% striking defense. And you don't even need the stats to see it. Just watch the fights. And another thing that I think is going to be very relevant here is look at how he goes to the body. He does this like dip jab where he completely brings his head forward. Barbosa can counter that all day long. So like you look at his fights, yeah, his last 2 are losses, but how about that Burgos knockout? Like, how are you just going to take that off? Like, that was very, like, that's a very impressive thing. So, I think Barbosa is really live for a knockout. I think this is a really good matchup for him to get that KO. I get the angle on Quarantillo. I get why people might like him as a side. But I think if you're going to bet it, I think Barbosa by finish is the side. And decision, no action, I saw plus 200 on Barbosa. I think that's a good spot. So, that's probably what I'm going to do. How about you, Pat?
Yeah, I pointed out those exact same spots in my my full card breakdown, and I'm on the Barbosa side here. I have only played the round 3 props for each guy by finish so far. It was plus 2,000 round 3 for Barbosa and plus 1,000 for Billy Q. So that's just a mandatory Billy Q bet. So I'm giving respect to Billy Q. Cashed on him last time against Alex Hernandez. Dope fight, but man, he's going to have to really play a much more safe fight against Barbosa early, crowd Barbosa early, but not many. He's never really that effective with his takedowns early in a fight. Like he has to break his opponent first and come back. And that's when he starts to be more accurate with his takedowns. And there's not been many just run of the mill, like generalists that have been able to neutralize Barbosa with the wrestling. It's always high level guys like Bryce Mitchell or Khabib or Kevin Lee or, even what's his face? Mercani, like Amir Khani early, so there's not been many like just normal generalists that have done that to Barbosa. And the guy is still, even at 37 years old, which is unbelievable. He's that old. Barbosa, still a deadly Muay Thai striker, still has the nasty leg kick, still has the ripping to the body. If you remember a few years ago, that one of my favorite fights from like a kickboxing perspective to watch, him against Dan Hooker, just destroyed Dan Hooker. Mike, is Dan Hooker a bum? Is Dan Hooker a bum?
No, he's not a bum.
But further, and he got a 3rd round finish in that fight, just to prove my point. But Barbosa, man, even though he's a little bit, hittable more in his older age, even though his cardio looks a little bit diminished, if I'm being critical, the guy is still accurate as hell. So if this is sniper versus zombie, dude, like as much as Billy Q absorbs per minute, just like almost 6 significant strikes per minute, this guy absorbs on average. Imagine that many strikes, precise, technical from Edson Barbosa. I don't know. I got to pick Barbosa here as the dog. But I would look towards what you mentioned, the finish props. He's like plus 350 or more inside the distance, Barbosa. Awesome. I love that line. I'll sprinkle on that. The late props, if I can get a same game parlay on Barbosa, rounds 2 and rounds 3, after breaking the durability of Quarantillo a bit, even fatter numbers. So that's where I'm at with this, man. I got to pick Barbosa here on principle, but it's probably the finish props I'm looking at.
Yep, I'll probably do the decision only, just because I think that, if we do get to a decision, it's probably Billy Q.
Right.
But all right, we can move on to our next fight. Here we've got Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen, our main event of the evening. Holloway 23-7-0, 31 years old. He's 5'11" with a 69-inch reach. Gracie Techniques is what they have on Tapology. I was trying to figure it out based off of his Instagram. Seems like some camp in Hawaii, but I can't tell you where. Allen, 19-1-0. He's 29. He's 2 years younger. Going to be 3 inches shorter, 1 inch reach advantage. For his camp, I've got BKK Fighters Colchester is what Instagram showed us. What do you got here, Pat?
I mean, how can you not like Max Holloway? The guy's just so high output, went God mode a couple of times in his career. I mean, the times I'm thinking of are over Brian Ortega. I think it was 4 rounds of beatdown before, Ortega had to just throw in the towel. And then against Calvin Kattar, I mean, in early 2021, that was such an amazing, memorable fight. Record-setting fight. This guy has, I think, one of like the top 5 most ring time in the UFC's history, like 6 hours and 50 minutes of cage time. He's put out more strikes, but probably absorbed more strikes than anybody else in history as well. So even though he's only 31 years old, I think, if you're calculating this in like fighter years, he's probably closer to like mid to late 30s at this point. So we've seen the best of Max Holloway. I don't think we can see anything better than what we've seen. So it's only downhill from here. Is he going to be washed up in this fight on Saturday? I'm not sure, and I'm not banking on that. I'm picking Max Holloway to win this fight. I think the fact that it's 5 rounds really favors him in this fight against Arnold Allen, who we've seen slow down in a couple of spots, but I think there's still like more of a ceiling from Arnold Allen than I've seen so far. The guy is unbeaten in the UFC. He is still only 29 years old, and he has a lot of power. And it's unfortunate he's been so inactive, because we're not able to learn these things and collect all this data on him over time. He's fighting like once a year, if that. Even his last fight where he finally fought against Calvin Kattar, Kattar blows out his knee. We don't really learn much from that fight, so I'm going into this missing some data here. And even though Max Holloway is one of the all-time greats, a former champion, he is coming off of a 3rd loss to his, arch nemesis, Alex Volkanovski. And this was the most decided, like one-sided victory, 5 rounds to 0 out of all of them. So where's his head at? I'm not a guy who usually goes off of like all this narrative and like motivation talk at all. Like I never talk about stuff like that. But in this fight where I know I've seen the best of Max Holloway, I think it's only downhill from here. I'm staying off of this fight. I do pick Max Holloway. The output should be there. The durability should still be there. He should be able to swarm Arnold Allen. Maybe give up round 1, but then come back as the fight goes on and do better over 5 rounds. But I'm staying off of this one, dude. Like I don't know. I would play the overs if anything. So give me Max Holloway. The line I pretty much agree with. I don't think it should be any higher or any less, but I still think there's some tricks up the sleeve of Arnold Allen, man. He could be the more unpredictable guy here, because with all of the output, all of the wars you've seen with Max Holloway, he is going to be the more predictable guy. Like, how to game plan for him at least. So give me Holloway here. No money on this one.
Yeah, I'm on the same side. I'm still so pissed about the Allen Kattar fight.
Horrible.
I had a good amount of money on Kattar, and man,
yeah, same.
It would have been one thing if he lost fair and square, but like.
And it would have been another thing if it wasn't like the 15th knee injury main event canceling
in like the year.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, that was just whack. And like you mentioned, because of that, we haven't been able to really gather much information on him recently. I was looking at the Sadiq Youssef fight today, and I was kind of like, okay, I don't really love what I'm seeing here. So watching the Hooker fight, and I was like, okay, not really loving what I'm seeing here. Hooker went down to 145, and I mean, I think we can all agree his chin just went bye-bye.
Yeah.
And even then,
what do we see in that fight? We saw Arnold Allen rushing towards a finish. Man, he didn't know if he was going to get that finish or not. Like Hooker stayed standing for a long time, and we saw just constant brawling, heavy pace.
Dropped him too.
If he didn't get Dan Hooker out of there, he would have been in trouble cardio-wise in round 2. So Yeah, imagine teeing off on the chin of Max Holloway like that in round 1. You don't get the finish. You got hell coming in the following rounds.
To this day, Max hasn't been knocked out. And this man against Volk, I had like the fight goes the distance or something in their last fight. I mean, that fight could have been stopped like 3 rounds in, 4 rounds in. Yeah. Like, and that's what it took to bring this guy down. A cut. It still wasn't a knockdown. Can Allen knock him down? Sure. But the one thing that stood out to me so far, look, I think Max wins. That's my pick. If the line keeps coming down, if I get him minus 160, I'm going to play his money line. He's minus 176 now, not out of the realm of possibilities. But
that's coming. So that's coming down. I didn't even realize.
Yep. Money's coming in on Allen. People love him and keep loving him. I'll take another shot on Max. I think the one thing that stood out to me was actually on the Allen side. Allen by sub. It's plus 1,800. He's got 2 of them in the UFC, and both of them are by guillotine. And what have we seen Max doing more than we've seen in his career recently is the wrestling. He wrestled in that Yair Rodriguez fight when he was uncomfortable on the feet. If Allen makes him uncomfortable and he starts shooting these doubles, I love Max to death. He's not a grappler, though. He's not a wrestler. He's bound to make mistakes in that realm. If he does, that's a guillotine possibility. Even aside from that, I think that Allen, if he is going to win this fight, I don't think it's going to be on the feet. I think he has to grapple. He hasn't shown the best ability to do so, but he does do it. He can do it. And if he wants to win this fight, I think that's what he has to do. And if he is getting maxed down, if he is on the ground, I'll be pretty happy holding a plus 1,800 ticket for a sub, just a 1/10 of a unit to win almost 2. I'll take it. Other than that, I've got no bets right now. Like I said, if the line comes down, I'll be on Holloway for like at least a unit, but that's it for me. I think he should win. Yeah, but the career trajectory is also right, like completely different.
Again, I'm not somebody that really goes to narrative that much. I think it is important, and if you can get an edge handicapping that way, go for it. But I'm usually matchup per matchup. I mean, do you agree? Like, how do you get better than what Max Holloway has shown us? Like, you can only stay the same or go down from there. You know what I mean? So
he's what, 29 now?
He's 31.
Crazy. Yeah, 31.
He's been in the UFC since 2012, early 2012.
I think you hit it with the nail on the head. Like he's 31, but he's like 52 in the UFC. Like right. At this point, he's definitely aging, I think. But even then, like we still haven't seen anything that terrible. What, he got dominated by Volk, the same guy who arguably beat Islam Makhachev up at 155. Like, boo-hoo. And then he fights Yair Rodriguez, and I think that's a big fight why people are liking Allen, because they saw Max be put into danger on the feet where he wanted to grapple. But I think there's a difference between Allen and Rodriguez and in their styles of fighting. So I like Holloway, like I said, and that's all I've got.
Yeah. I want to see a nice God mode performance from Holloway. I want to see him go out there and top the performance that he had against Calvin Kattar. That would be awesome.
I don't think
one of my favorite fights of all time.
I mean, how do you beat it when he turns to the commentary and he's talking to them?
Who's the best boxer? Who's the best boxer in the UFC?
Kattar is just missing. And like, in my opinion, I don't know if that was so much of skill or just of everything perfectly lining up for Max. Because I mean, look, how can you possibly be skilled enough to not see things and still duck them? That's gotta be luck. Like, how could that be possible?
He was using echolocation. He was training for
that. It's possible.
It was in the Apex too, so that was possible.
Dude looked amazing. But even then, like, I think you mentioned, like, he still eats so many strikes. Like, he outstruck him 445 to 133, but he still ate 133 strikes. Yeah. Dude, 445?
And clean strikes too, man. Like, he's had to have absorbed more than anybody else in history. He's on a different level with that, which is why I like your submission idea. Because when you've got a guy that durable that will refuse to go out, but you're going to dive on a neck, you know, as your other option there. So I don't mind that.
One finish loss is a sub.
And you said plus 1,800 on BetOnline. I'm seeing plus 1,000 on DraftKings. So BetOnline's had the better line for that prop.
There we go. That's what you got to do. But all right, guys, that's a card. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Appreciate every single one of you, especially the people watching live right now. Before I pass the mic to Pat, I'll plug myself real quick, what I've got going for the week. Tomorrow, I'm going to try to put out a PFL video. No promises, but my bets are already all up on BetMMA. I've got like 7 money lines, something crazy like that for PFL. which is not something I normally do, but I liked a lot of the lines, so I went for it. Got 3 bets for LFA. I don't know if I'm going to end up doing a video for that. It's going to be time dependent. I hope to put out some write-ups. Been doing that on my Substack. Make sure to subscribe to that if you like write-ups. Usually do them for like the main events, other fights I have bets on. I'm trying to do them for regionals. And that's it. Other than Friday, do Prop Talk like always with Propaholic. Love that show on Twitter Spaces. And that's it. Pat, once again, thanks for coming on as always, brother. Why don't you plug yourself and let's get out of here.
Of course, Mike. It's always a pleasure breaking down fights with you, man. Your enthusiasm and just passion and hard work for the game, man. Doing all the regionals nonstop, dropping great content. I love working with you, man. So thank you. This is an awesome card, too. Like 14 fights in this card, a lot of really fun ones. Even the bad fights are fun ones. So I love that a week like that. My name is Patrick. I run a YouTube called Addicted to Combat. If you don't know me, go ahead and check out my YouTube. Drop a subscribe at Twitter, at Combat Addict 1 as well. Instagram, TikTok, anywhere you need to get your fight fix. I'm there. So tomorrow night, Wednesdays are usually when I do my live streams. It's going to be a bit earlier tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central Time, because I'm accommodating the great Cody, a.k.a. Blood Money MMA Bets. We'll be talking about these fights. Have all of the props hopefully available to us at that point as well, and we'll try to find some more bets for all of you guys. So let's talk fights.
All right. Good luck, guys. Thank you all once again. Real quick, shout out to Mushroom. Make sure you guys are subscribed to him as well. His videos are awesome. Hi, Milo. And Mike, when is your space with Prop? It's on Fridays, either 6 or 7 p.m. We're gonna decide. We still haven't chosen which time. We change it up. Still trying to figure out which time is better. But yeah, definitely Friday and definitely 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern time. But all right, guys. Good luck once again. Thank you once again. And let's get out of here. Peace.